Joining us, ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee, Democratic Senator of Michigan, Gary Peters. He also serves on the Armed Services Committee and Appropriations. All right, so you've offered to fund TSA, to fund FEMA. The issue really is ICE and Customs and Border Patrol. Why aren't Republicans saying yes to that?
Because I think they basically want to hold TSA hostage. They want to hold FEMA hostage. They want to hold the Coast Guard hostage because we have, as you've already mentioned, put bills to fund them. We have the DHS bill. It includes ICE and CBP, and that's where we have an issue. You know, we want to put in common sense safeguards when federal agents are on the streets of our cities, basically saying they should just follow the same rules that our local police have. And it's also important to remember that both CBP and ICE are fully funded. They were funded back in last year when the big bill passed. So they have all the money they need. That funding isn't necessary. This bill would be additional funding, and we're saying no additional funding until we get some safeguards. But on the other hand, we have no beef with TSA. In fact, we want to make sure they're fully funded. The Coast Guard, CISA, the cybersecurity agency, which is absolutely critical for us now that we're at war with Iran, as well as FEMA. And so we put those bills on the floor. The Republicans control the floor. They're in the majority. They can have us vote on those, or they could just simply not object to the bills that we've put forward. And our bills for TSA is just the exact language that they want to pass. We just say, let's just pay TSA or make sure they have the money. So in Senate rules, you can do that without objection. Every single Democrat is for it, and yet Republicans come down to the floor and they object. They say no. They are the ones that are blocking this. It's very clear. After 7 times, and they still say no to TSA, it is outrageous that they're blaming us for it when they're the ones blocking legislation to make sure TSA has the funds they need, not only to pay their folks, but provide other services that they need to provide.
So I am assuming that if I ask you how much longer is this going to last, you're going to say ask the Republicans, and I'd ask the Republicans that, and they'd say ask the Democrats, which is not an answer.
No, it's not an answer.
So can you give me a sense of, like, are conversations happening about this? Because we are in the middle of a war. CISA should get funded. That's important. TSA is a real problem. Those folks that work at TSA are not getting paid, and they don't make a whole lot of money to begin with, so it's not like they can just look into their bank accounts and pull out extra cash and be fine. And there, at the same time, are crazy, crazy lines all around the country for people who are just trying to either go see friends or family, or go travel for vacation, go do, work stuff. Like, these lines are insane. So where are we in terms of negotiations? And can you tell me any sort of time frame for when you believe this will get resolved?
I wish I could be more specific. It's hard, but I will say that there is conversations going on as to what those guardrails will be. There's been very little movement, next to no movement from the Trump administration on those. So we really just need to get people around the table and say, let's get to work and make sure that this gets done. I'm pushing for that. Many of my colleagues are pushing for that. It hasn't happened yet. But ultimately, that's how things get done at this place, is people got to get in and just be focused on that. But again, we could make sure TSA gets money today. It's that simple. You basically don't object to the bills that we've been putting forward. If they want to have a vote, put it on the floor. They control the floor. Republicans are in charge. So normally you blame the person who's actually in charge for the problem, and that's where it lies right now. Put it on the floor. We'll vote for TSA, for CISA, for FEMA, and for the Coast Guard. CISA, as you mentioned, critically important for cybersecurity. The Iranian threat is real when it comes to that. But I also want to remind viewers here that before this funding issue even started, the Trump administration basically fired or pushed out 1/3 of all of the cyber professionals at CISA. And this was an agency that was already understaffed in order to provide critical cybersecurity protection. And they fired 1/3 of the workforce of the cyber professionals before this budget issue, putting our country at risk. One of the questions that we pushed if confirmed, secretary is, how are you going to rebuild CISA? We'll get the funding there, but you got to actually have the Trump administration to bring these people back. It is a big issue, one that I'm focused on.
Let me ask you about appropriations and about the money that the White House is going to be asking for, expects to be asking for this war. Another $200 billion Are you in favor of that?
No, not right now. They're putting that forward, and I'd say it's pretty outrageous to put that forward. First off, they do have a $1 trillion budget, so there is money already in the budget. But if you're going to come to Congress to ask for money, you didn't come to Congress to actually get approval to go to war, and now you're coming to Congress to ask for resources, and yet you don't really have a plan. And if you do have a plan, it's certainly not working in the case of the Straits of Hormuz, which is putting tremendous pressure on working families all throughout our country. So it's difficult to give money to an administration that clearly does not have an effective plan that is working in order to hopefully bring this conflict to an end. And unless they come to Congress and actually explain that in a way that makes sense, I think it's going to be a pretty heavy lift for them. They're going to have to use money that has already been appropriated. That's $1 trillion that's already been appropriated for the Department of Defense.
On Markwayne Mullin, you voted no, did not want to get him out of committee. So did Rand Paul. If not for John Fetterman, he would not have made it out of committee. How do you feel about John Fetterman today?
Well, everybody has to vote their conscience. They have to vote what they think is right. He'll now go to the full Senate, and we'll see what happens there. It's likely the votes will be there. There isn't, other than Rand Paul, there isn't one Republican that is standing in the way. You know, and here's a guy who clearly has major temperament issues. He has actually said that political violence is sometimes justified, which is absolutely outrageous. He's a hothead, and to put him in charge of DHS at a time when DHS now is suffering a lack of trust from the American people, what we need is a secretary for someone to kind of dial down the heat, regain trust for Homeland Security, and instead we have someone who not only doesn't have the temperament, really doesn't understand the department. You know, he may be marginally better than the previous secretary, but that's an extremely, extremely low bar. We could certainly do better, and I'm disappointed that my Republican colleagues are looking beyond all of those deficiencies and moving forward. The number one criteria to be a secretary should not just be you're 100% loyal to the president, and the only question you ever ask is how high should I jump? We should demand more of our secretaries, and that's part of my advice and consent role as a United States Senator, and I would hope all my colleagues would take our constitutional duty to provide advice and consent seriously. Clearly, they're not doing that.
Senator Gary Peters, really good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.